This is Jennifer Fairfeet, and the photographer I chose is Edward Weston. He's an American, and he was born in 1886 and died in 1958. The picture here is a picture, a self-portrait that one of his lovers did, Tina Modotti. One thing that was cool from Edward Weston was the camera should be used for the recording of life, for rendering the very substance and quintessence of the thing itself, whether it be polished steel or pulpating flesh. His idea was that the camera was able to see the world more clearly than the human eye, and because of it, it did not project personal prejudice onto the subject. Again, he was born in 1886 in Highland Park, Illinois. He began photographing at the age of 16 after receiving a bullseye camera, number 2, from his father. Weston's first photographs captured the parks of Chicago and his aunt's farm. In 1906, after he published his first photograph in the Camera and Darkroom, Weston moved to California. He worked briefly as a surveyor for San Pedro, Los Angeles, and the Salt Lake Rota. He began working as a low-end photographer, and he peddled his portraits door-to-door, photographing children, pets, and funerals. And he then realized that he needed more training, because he was generally self-taught. And he returned back to Illinois and went to the College of Photography in Illinois, and he completed the 12-month course in 6 months, and then returned to California, Los Angeles. In 1909, he was working for a portrait studio as a photographer and demonstrated outstanding abilities with lighting and posing. And he married his first wife, Flora Chandler, in 1909 and had 4 children. In 1911, he opened his own portrait studio in Tropico, California, which is now Glendale. And that was his base of operation for the next 2 decades. And there he was doing majority of pictorialism. And later on in 1922, he transitioned to straight photography, and he was known as the pioneer of precise and sharp presentation. And after 1927, he mainly worked with nudes and still life. And what sparked that is he went to Armco Steel Plant in Middleton, Ohio, and he was taking photographs there, and it kind of was the turning point of his career. He went with a new emphasis on abstract form and the sharper resolution of detail, and that kind of got him to be the co-founder with the F64 group that he later opened in 1932 with Ansel Adams and a few other really well-known photographers. In 1937, he was awarded the Guggenheim Foundation Fellowship, and it was the first fellowship that was ever given to a photographer. And in 1958, he died at the age of 66, Parkinson's disease. Like I said, he was given his first camera on his 16th birthday, and he co-founded the group F64 with Ansel Adams, William Van Dyke, and others. The Emoji Cunningham, also John Paul Edwards, and the idea came from a party that was in honor of Weston, and it was held at the gallery known as 638 for the address that was on Brookhurst Avenue in San Francisco. It was similar to Stiegler's gallery, the 291. They talked about forming a group that promoted new direction in photography that broke pictorialism, and that was prevalent in the West Coast photography, West Coast art photography. And f/64 refers to the smallest aperture available in large format view cameras. And the group's vision was to advocate using the f/64 to provide the greatest depth of field and allowing a large part of the picture to be in sharp focus. I also talked about how he opened his studio and how he received the award. And in the Smithsonian Institute held the show The World of Edward Western in 1956, paying a tribute to his remarkable accomplishments in American photography. Here is one of his photos from the nude collection. You can see that it's got really sharp detail. Here's another one. This is a really well-known, the nude on the sand. This is of another one of his lovers, Charis. She inspired him. He did a series of the nudes. She was one of probably his main nude model that really inspired him to do nudes. Here's another one in his Oceano collection. There's one where he shows really good composition with light. This photo here is probably his most known photo. It's Pepper and it's number 35. And you can look here, it's got real attention to detail. I think it's really interesting where in his quote he says, it's recording of life. It's one of his still lifes, and to me it kind of looks like where he's talking about the polished steel where it has the shine here. You can see the real sharp attention to detail. There's also a lot of shadows here where he plays a little bit with the light. This is another famous photo of him. It was actually published in a book, The Photographer's Eye. Here's another one of his nude collections. This was Charis as well. And then this is one, the Nautilus, that he did. And this was actually another inspiration by another lover of his. He had many lovers. Most of them were his muses. And her name was Henrietta Shore, and she was his companion in the 1930s. And her paintings influenced him to photograph his shells, or her shells. This is an important photograph here. This was one of his last photographs that he took before he died. And this was out of his Point Lobos collection. And it's the Erosion of the Rock. Here's the Seaweed and Carmel. This one's a little bit different than most of his other photographs here. To me, the contrast is different. There's more light than there is dark, and most of his pictures are really dark with shadows. There's one, Edward Western, Juniper Lake. This, I think, shows the part of where we were talking about the f/64, where he shows the great depth of field. This was on his aunt's farm. This was a picture that he took of Don Rivera. This is when he traveled with Tina Mondavi over into Mexico. And she was one of his lovers, and Tino Mondavi created quite a bit of chaos in the press. So again, he's a self-taught photographer. He co-founded the F64, and after 1927, he worked mainly with close-ups, abstracts of nudes, and still life. And he was committed to simplification, truth, and clarity.